Hello, hello everyone. I welcome you all to this live session by Great Learning. I understand that it's a weekend, but learning should never stop, and that is why I'm here. And I believe all of you folks are here as well. And in today's session, we'll be looking at some of the really important libraries in Python that are used for the purpose of applications of data science. And before I go ahead and start the session, just give me a confirmation if you guys can see my screen and if you can hear me properly. I see that there are 25 people watching currently, and I would want a response from you folks if you can see me properly and if you folks can hear me. And in the meanwhile, when you're giving me confirmation, I'd like to inform you folks about Great Learning Academy. So Great Learning Academy is a free learning initiative by Great Learning, and over here we've got 100 plus courses, and all of these courses are related to different domains such as data science, ML, AI, cloud computing, and so on. And whenever you complete any course on Great Learning Academy, you will be able to get a course completion certificate. And you can go ahead and add that certificate onto your resume or onto your LinkedIn profile, and that would be a huge, huge value add to you guys. So now that you know about GLA, if you'd want to register onto GLA, you'll be able to get the link of Great Learning Academy in the chat. So someone from my team would be putting up the link over there. And also, let's say if you do not have a laptop or a computer with you right now, but still if you want to learn, then we also have the Great Learning app. So you can just go ahead and download the Great Learning app, and then you can start learning all of these courses from over there as well. So the link for Great Learning app would also be available to you in our chat section right now. Now, once these things are clear, we will just go ahead and start off with our session. So our topic is Python for data science, and if you have been attending any of my previous sessions, you would know that when it comes to data science or applications of data science, Python and R are the most widely used programming languages, and Python is the best currently in the market right now. And that is why we'll be looking at some of the common libraries in Python which are used for the purpose of data science. Now, also I see that there's a watching of 54 and we've got only 34 likes. So if you folks can quickly go ahead and like the video, that would be amazing. So you can show us your love by just hitting the like button. And also if you haven't hit subscribe to our channel, please do hit the subscribe button and also hit the bell icon. We'll get a notification whenever we have, whenever we are uploading new courses or whenever we take live sessions onto our channel. So please also do subscribe to our channel. So on that note, we will start off with today's session. So we'll be looking at three libraries. Our first library would be Numpy, which we'll be using for numerical computation. Then we'll use Pandas, which is used for data wrangling or data manipulation. Then finally, we will work with this library called as Matplotlib, which is one of the widely used libraries for data visualization. Now that this is clear, so as you can see over here, now one of the best things about Python is it has a lot of libraries, lots and lots of libraries, and whatever your requirement is, Python, it produces a library for that purpose. If you want to do data wrangling, Python provides a library for that. If you want to do data visualization, Python also provides a library for that. If you want to develop websites from scratch, there also you have a library. So whatever your requirement is, Python, it produces a library for that. And since in today's session, we will be focusing on the data science side of things, we've got three primary libraries over here, which are Numpy, Matplotlib, and Pandas. So we will start off with the first library, which is Numpy, and Numpy basically stands for numerical Python, as again you can see. Now, the best part about Numpy is it will give you single dimensional and multi-dimensional arrays. Now, what exactly are arrays? Well, simply put, arrays are contiguous memory locations where you can store data. And most of your whenever you're dealing with any of the data science applications, your data would either be stored in these NumPy arrays or maybe in a Pandas data frame. And one of the best examples that I can give you would be in the case of computer vision. Now, let's say if you're working with anything related to image processing, that obviously you'd have to store the image somewhere. Now, how do you store the image? So image, now let's say if it is a grayscale image. What is a grayscale image? So in grayscale image, you basically have values starting from 0 going on till 255. So that image is actually stored in the form of numbers in a NumPy array. So this is just one example where a NumPy array is used in real life applications. So now that we understand this, we will go ahead and see how to create a single dimensional array. So first we'd have to start off by importing the NumPy library. So for that we'd have to type import NumPy as NP. So NumPy is the name of the library and NP is just the alias which I'm giving to this library, because most of the coders are lazy. Now instead of writing numpy.array every time, I can just use this alias which is NP. So I'll just write np.array. And by convention, we normally use NP. You can use anything else over here. So you can call it, you can give it your name. So let's say if your name is Raj, you can import NumPy as Raj. So there is no hard and fast rule that you have to only call it NP, but by convention and by default, we give the alias of NumPy as NP. So here we are creating this single dimensional NumPy array, and inside this we are just passing in a list of values. And as you see, I have passed 10, 20, 30 and 40. And when I print in N1 over here, you would see that I have created an array. In the result, you see that this is an array. And this is an array of numbers comprising of numbers starting from 10 going on till 40. Similarly, I've got a multi-dimensional array over here. Now, the difference between a single dimensional and multi-dimensional array, obviously, you see we've got only one row over here, and over here we've got two rows. Basically, what I'm trying to say is you've got rows and columns as well. So when it comes to creation of multi-dimensional array, so the main function would be the same, which is np.array, and inside np.array you would actually be passing list of lists. And what is list of lists? So as you see, you have the outer list over here, and inside the outer list you have two lists. This is the first list in which we have the numbers starting from 10 going on till 40. Similarly, we've got the second list where we have the numbers starting from 40 and going on till 10. And when I pass in these two lists inside this np.array method, I get this final NumPy array. And you see that the first list is stored as the first row and the second list is stored as the second row. And this is how we are able to create a multi-dimensional array. I will just head to Jupyter Notebook. So I'll quickly open up Jupyter Notebook over here. And what is Jupyter Notebook? So let's say if you have never coded with Python in your life, Jupyter Notebook is just an IDE, which stands for Integrated Development Environment, and you can write all of your Python codes over here. So if you have worked with C or C++, you would have this IDE called as Turbo C++ or Dev C++. Similarly, if you have worked with Java, you will have this IDE called as Eclipse. And for Python, you have multiple IDEs, and one of those IDEs is Jupyter Notebook, and that is what I'm using over here. So our first task is to import the library. Here, I'll just write down import NumPy as NP. I'll hit on run. And since I just loaded Jupyter Notebook, it might take a bit of time. So we have imported this. Now I have to create a NumPy array. So I'll write down np.array, and inside this I will have the values. Let me actually give in, let's say, 500, 600, 700, and 800. And this I'll go ahead and store in a new variable called as n1. Then I'll print out n1 over here. And as you see, I have successfully created my first NumPy array. And if you folks ask, Harini, how can I be sure that this is actually a NumPy array? Well, let's actually verify if this is a NumPy array or not. So we have this method called as type, and inside this, I'll just pass in n1. I'll hit run, and we see that this object is of type numpy.nd array. So what is a numpy.nd array? This basically stands for numpy n dimensional array. N is the dimension. So since this is only one dimensional array, so this will be one dimensional numpy array. Now similarly, we'll go ahead and create a two-dimensional numpy array. So I'll write down n2 over here. Again, I will have np.array, and inside this, maybe I will pass in 1, 2, and 3. So I'll actually have to create an outer list first. So this would be my outer list. Inside this, I would have to create two inner lists. And in the first list, I will given 1, 2, and 3. In the second list, I will given 3, 2, and 1. Now let me hit on run, and let me print out n2 over here. And as you see, this is my two-dimensional array. Now let's also see if this is a numpy array or not. So inside type, I will pass in this object of n2. I'll hit on run, and you see that this is a n-dimensional numpy array. So this is how you can create a numpy array. And what I'll do is I'll head on to the chat and see if there are any questions. So folks, I want this session to be very interactive. So if you have any questions, any doubts, you can put them up in the chat section. I will take them up. Kashyap Pandu is saying grayscale images in black and white format. Yes, that's true, Kashyap. So that is why it is called as grayscale. So the values start from 0 and go up till 255. So I see that we do not have any questions right now. Devendra is asking, can we use collab? Absolutely. So as I've been telling you folks all the time, irrespective of whichever IDE you use, the Python code will remain the same. Right, so this Python code which I've implemented over here, the same Python code, you can implement it in maybe Google Colab or maybe Visual Studio or maybe even PyCharm. So irrespective of whatever IDE you're using, the Python code will not change. Sai Kumar is asking, what are we going to do in this session? So the agenda of this session is to cover 3 libraries. One is Numpy, then we have Pandas, and the third library would be Matplotlib. So Numpy is for numerical computing, Pandas is for data manipulation, and Matplotlib is for visualization. Kashyap is asking, please tell the rank of a matrix in Python. So I don't think we'll be able to cover that in this particular session, Kashyap. So what we'll do is, maybe you can put it down in the comments once the live session is done, and maybe what we'll do is in the next live session, we will cover it up. So I hope that would help you, Kashyap. Praval is saying, is it not necessary to type print? Sure. So I'll just show you. By convention, I mean, this is what this IDE provides you, but if you want to print something, you normally have to use the print statement. But Jupyter Notebook is such that if you just given the name of the object, that is automatically printed. So let's say here, if I given print of n2 and run it, I'll get the same result. Similarly, if I just have n2 over here, I'll get the same result. Now this is possible because if I just given the name of the object, Jupyter Notebook automatically interprets as that I would want to print the value which is there inside this object. Kaushal is asking, say about maths needed for data science, sir. Absolutely. Again, whenever you talk about math, there is a misconception among most of the data science enthusiasts that if you want to be a data scientist, math is not necessary. And that is a big mistake which most of the freshers or most of the folks who want to enter into this industry do. So you'd have to understand the difference between the data analyst job profile and the data scientist job profile. When it comes to the data analyst job profile, there I would agree that you would not have a lot of math involved. There you'd be doing most of data wrangling or exploratory data analysis, but you would need a bit of math. Even in data analyst roles, math is required because what is data? data is mostly text and numbers. And what is numbers? It is again math. So math is important. Now what I'll do is I'll tell you folks about the math which is important for data science roles. So the biggest pillar when it comes to math is statistics. So in statistics, start off by learning these fundamentals such as measures of central tendency, measures of deviation, and so on. Now, once you're good with those, then you can proceed to hypothesis testing. So hypothesis testing is really important before you actually go ahead and build the model. Then you can go ahead and learn about probability concepts. And after that, you can learn about probability distribution. And especially in probability distribution, there is one distribution which is really, really important, and that is known as normal distribution. So learn about that. So these are some things which you can start off with. Once you're good with these, then maybe you can head on to calculus and learn about integral calculus as well, because integral calculus is important to find the area of a curve, and differential calculus would sometimes also be used in neural networks. So these are some things which you would have to cover. And if you want to get started with math, there is a beautiful book by Dr. P.K. Vishwanath. He has this book which goes by the name Business Statistics. So maybe you guys can go through that book, and I'm pretty sure that would help you. So folks, again, I will head back to the chat section a little bit later. So we'll come back to our live session now. And also I see that there's a watching of 96 and we've got only 73 likes. So again, if all of you could hit the like button, that would be amazing. Let's get to maybe 120 likes if that's possible in the next 5 minutes. So in the next 5 minutes, if you can hit 120 likes, that would be amazing. And also, all of the folks who haven't yet subscribed, please do subscribe to our channel. That would help us a lot, and also hit the bell icon. So if you like our sessions, if you enjoy our sessions, all you have to do is subscribe to our channel, and that would help us a lot in spreading our tutorials to more people across the world. Now that we have learned how to create a NumPy array, let's see what else is in store for us. Now we'll see how to initialize a NumPy array. So let's say I want a NumPy array which consists of only zeros. So here I have this method called as np.zeros, and this is very intuitive, obviously. So I have np.zeros, and inside this, what I'll do is I'll give in the dimensions of the NumPy array. So I'll just pass in 1, 2. So when I pass in 1, 2, it would mean that I want to create a NumPy array which has 1 row and 2 columns, and the values inside it would only be zeros. And as you see, this is the result which I get. Similarly, if I want to create a 5 cross 5 NumPy array which comprises of only zeros, I would just have to write down np.zeros, and inside this I will pass in 5, 5. And over here you see that I have a 5 cross 5 NumPy array which comprises of only zeros. So I will go back, and here what I'll do is I will write down np.zeros, and when you're giving dimensions, make sure that you put it inside the parenthesis. So inside the parenthesis, I'll give in 5, 5, and let me hit on run. So you see that I have this beautiful NumPy array of dimensions 5, 5, and all of the values are equal to 0. And then similarly, let's say if I want to fill up a NumPy array with the same number. So then we have this method called as np.full, and this takes in 2 parameters. The first parameter is the dimensions which you see, and dimensions over here I'm setting it as 2, 2, which would mean that I have a 2 cross 2 NumPy array, or in other words I have 2 rows and 2 columns, and then I will give in the value which I'd want to fill up this NumPy array with. So I have a 2 cross 2 NumPy array which comprises of only the value 10. So this is very simple. Let me just add in a comment over here. I'll write down np.full, and then going ahead, what I'll do is I will use this method called as np.full, and I need 2 parameters. Let's say I would want to create a 3 cross 6 NumPy array, 3 rows, 6 columns, and I want all of the numbers to be equal to 100. So I'll just give in 100 over here. Now let me hit on run. So as you see, I've got 3 rows, 6 columns, and all of the values are equal to 100. Going ahead, we'll see how to initialize a NumPy array within a particular range. So if we have to initialize a NumPy array within a particular range, we can use the np.arange method. So here you see that I have used np.arange and I have given the values 10, 20. And now here, understand this properly. When I given the values 10, 20, you see that the values start from 10 but end at 19, which would mean that the first value which I given is inclusive and the last value which I given is exclusive. So what do I mean when I say inclusive and exclusive? So when I given 10, you have the first value as 10, but when I given the last value as 20, you will have 20 minus 1 as the last value, or n minus 1 as the last value. So that is why when I've given 10, 20, I'll have values starting from 10 going on till 19, and this is how the arange method works. Then I have another parameter over here, which is basically the skip value. So here I want numbers starting from 10 going on till 50, but I do not want the increment to be equal to plus 1. I want the increment to be equal to plus 5. So here, as you see, it is 10 plus 1 is equal to 11. 11 plus 1 is equal to 12. But I do not want the series to be incremented like this. So here what I want is 10 plus 5 is 15. 15 plus 5 is 20. And this is how the series is being incremented. And you see that this ends at 45. And why does it end at 45? Because 45 plus 5 becomes 50, which is the last value. And the last value is always exclusive. So this has to end at 49. But you cannot have 49 over here because 45 plus 5 is equal to 50. So again, very simple stuff over here. So let's head back to Jupyter Notebook and work with np.arange. Now np.arange, I'll add this as a comment, and now what we will do is, let's say I would want a range of values between let's say 100 to 200, and I would want the skip value to be equal to 10. Let me run this, and as you see, I have 100 going on till 190, and since the last value is 200, which is exclusive, this ends at 190. Now instead of 200, let's say if I give this as 201, and now if I hit on run, so here you see that I have values starting from 100 going on till 200. So this is a simple example of np.arange. So now that we have covered NumPy, since we have to cover 3 libraries today, what we'll do is I'll give you a brief introduction to all of these libraries. Then maybe if you'd want to learn more about this, then you can go ahead and watch our other tutorials. So in this live session, my my goal is to give you an introduction to all of these libraries so that you can get started with these libraries. So now that this is clear, what we'll do is we will head on to the next library, which is essential for data science, and that library goes by the name of Pandas. So you see this really cuddly panda over here. So why is it named Panda? It has got nothing to do with the animal panda. So panda over here stands for panel data. So since the short form for panel data is pandas apparently, that is why they named it like that. And whenever you have to do any sort of data analysis, data wrangling, data manipulation, whatever you call it, pandas would be your go-to library. Now, as NumPy would give you single dimensional arrays and multi-dimensional arrays, similarly, pandas provides you data structures as well. So pandas provides a single dimensional data structure called as series object, and pandas would also provide you a multi-dimensional data structure called as a data frame. And in this live session, we'll majorly focus on the data frame, because also in real life, you will be working with more of data frames and less of series objects. But then again, I'll give you an introduction to a series object as well. So your single dimensional object is series, your multi-dimensional object is a data frame. And now, how are you going to create a series object, and what exactly is a series object, by the way? So series object is a one-dimensional labeled array. So it exists in only one dimension. So as you see, you have only one column over here, and it is a labeled array. So if you look at these over here, now on the left side of these values, you have these indices. So 1 is present at index 0, 2 is present at index 1, 3 is present at index 2, and so on. So each value in a series object would be present at a particular index, and that is why it is called as a labeled array. And how do we create a series object? Well, first we'd have to so as I was saying, first we'd have to import the pandas library. So we'll write down import pandas as pd. So again, by convention, the alias of pandas as pd, you can give it anything else. So I don't know, you can, if you like bears more than pandas, you can maybe just write down import pandas as bears. That would totally depend on you. But by convention, you give the alias as pd. Now, once we give the alias, you have the series object, and here remember that when you invoke the series object, when you write pd.series, s has to be capital. So if you write pd.series with s to be small, you will get an error. So always remember s has to be capital. And again, inside this, what I'm doing is I'm just passing in a list of values, and I'm storing it in this object called as s1, and I print it down, and I get a series object. And when I check the type of it, I see that this is pandas.core.series.series, which basically means that this is a series object. So let's head to Jupyter Notebook again. Let me add in a new comment, which would be pandas. And now, after we do this, I would have to import the library. So I will write down import pandas as pd. Well, let me hit on run. Again, we'll just wait a couple of seconds for this library to load. So normally it would take a bit of time whenever you're importing new libraries. So that's pretty normal. Now, in the meanwhile, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and write in the next command as well. pd.series. Inside this, I'll pass in a list of values 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50, and I'll go ahead and store them in an object called as s1. And I will print down s1 over here, and as you see, I have the series object. And as you see, each of the values have an index associated with them, and again, by convention, the index value starts from 0. It's not just with respect to the series object, but whatever data type or whatever data structure you're working with in Python, the labeling or the index starts at 0. So remember this. So we have created our series object. Now, as I've told you, our primary focus would be on something called as a data frame. So let me actually come to a pandas data frame. And as you see, this is a two-dimensional label structure. So this is the only difference between a series object and a data frame. So in a series object, you have only one dimension, which is a column. In a data frame, you have rows as well as columns. And how do you create a data frame? So first again, import pandas, then you write down pd.dataframe. Here you'd have to again remember that D and F are in capital case. So if you either give D or F or both of them in small, then you will get an error and you'll not be able to create a data frame. So inside pd.dataframe, what I'm doing is I am creating a data frame through a dictionary. So here I've got these key value pairs. The first key is name, and I have a list of values. So Bob, Sam, and Annie are the names. Then we have marks. So let's say Bob scored 76, Sam scored 25, and Annie scored 92. Now what happens is the keys which you see over here in the dictionary, they become the column names, and the values over here become the records. So name becomes this column. The values of name become the records for this column. Similarly, marks over here becomes the column, and the values for marks turn into records over here. So this is how you can create a data frame from a dictionary. I'll head back to Jupyter Notebook and I will write down a comment over here which is data frame. And what I'll do is I would create a new data frame. Let me call it let me call this data frame as fruit basket. And inside this, again, I'll be creating this data frame through a dictionary. So I need key value pairs. So first, my first key would be fruit, and I'll give in a list of fruits over here. So I like apples a lot, so my first fruit would be apple. Then let's say we've got guava, then we've got mango. So I've listed down 3 fruits over here. Then what I'll do is I'll take the cost of these fruits. So cost would be my next key. Again, I'll pass in a list of values over here. So let's say cost of apple is 120 bucks. I'd have to make sure that this is numeric. So cost of apple is 120, guava, let's make it 56, and mango, let's make it maybe 175. Now I'll just print down fruit basket over here. Let me run this, and as you see, we have created our first dictionary. Let me verify if this is actually a dictionary or not. So inside the type method, I will pass in fruit basket, and you would see that we get pandas.core.frame.dataframe, which would mean that this is a data frame. So again, time to head back to the chat and see if there are any more questions. So folks, keep putting down your questions over here. I'll take them up whenever I get a chance. Your creator says, am I late? Yes, I'm afraid. So we are already done with half an hour. So we've got only half an hour left. But then again, it's never too late to start learning, isn't it? And if you think you're not able to follow what I'm currently teaching, that's not a problem. You can watch the video again once the live session is done. But you can still stay on, and since I'll be making it really interactive, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to understand even if you have joined in late. Kashyap Pandu is asking, can DBA become a data scientist? Is it possible? Well, when you ask if a database administrator become a data scientist, yes, the possibilities are really good. And I say that because you are working with data, but what you're doing is not really the same. So since you already are a DBA, I believe you understand the difference between OLTP and OLAP. Right, so OLTP is online transaction processing and OLAP is online analytical processing. Now, as a DBA, again, I believe that you'll be working with more of OLTP related, related tasks, where you have day-to-day tactical things to do. Now, what a data scientist does is he mostly takes care of the OLAP related things, where it is most of analytics. So the day-to-day things would be few and far between, and what you'll be doing is finding out new insights from the data. Now, the good point for you is since you already know how to work with data, so it wouldn't be too difficult for you to transition. But I guess the difficult part for you would be to focus on the math side of things. So here, focus more on stats, focus more on understanding the mathematical concepts of all of the ML algorithms, and start implementing these algorithms by yourself from scratch, and maybe participate in a few open source projects, work on a few open source projects, participate in a few competitions, and then start applying. And if you have the skills, you will definitely get a job. There is no denying that. So right now I'm in Bangalore, and if I talk about the Bangalore job scenario, there are a lot of vacant positions for the field or for the role of data scientist or a data analyst. And I'm pretty sure that if you have the relevant skills, you will be hired. 17A is asking, what is a PyCharm? I believe that's PyCharm. So PyCharm is an IDE. IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. So it's just one of the many IDEs that you can write your Python code in. Kashyap is saying, so little training towards DSS needed for a DBA. Yes, absolutely. So you just need to figure out on what are the things where you're currently lacking. So let's say if your math skills are lacking, focus on math. If your programming skills are lacking, focus on programming skills. If let's say what else is left? If your understanding of the ML algorithms is lacking, focus on that. So understand where is it that you have a problem and work more on those skills. Gaurav Kapoor is asking how to get online internship. I have seen your question, Gaurav, and please do not spam in the chat since others won't be able to put up their questions. So please do maintain the decorum of the chat, and if you keep spamming, someone from my team would give you a timeout, and I wouldn't want that. So please don't spam in the chat. So to answer your question, how to get an online internship, first is ask yourself which field do I want an internship in, right? And now again, just doing an internship for the sake of doing it is not really worth it. So let's say if you want to do an internship in the content side of things. So let's say if you want, if you think you're a good writer, apply for your go to Internshala, or you have a lot of these sites, and upload your resume. Let's say if you have written a lot of essays, if you have undertaken any projects where you have written something, if you have a blog, add all of those things in your resume and upload it, and you'll get an internship for a content writer role or a copywriter role maybe. Similarly, let's say if you want an internship in the software development side of things, then list down all of the projects that you worked on. So let's say if you have created an Android application, list it down. Similarly, let's say if you have created a web application with any of your front-end languages, list it down and upload on sites such as Internshala, and there are good chances that you might be shortlisted. So yeah, so just go through all of these sites where you have the opportunities of internship, and now let's say you have to understand that your resume is proper. So when I say proper, now let's say if you are applying for a content writer role and your resume is filled with, let's say all of coding related stuff, so that really is not that important for a content writing role, isn't it? So you have to understand these things when you're when you're applying for any role. Ramesh Gupta is asking, what is Fruit Basket, sir? So this is just a name that I've given to the data frame over here. So I've just created this data frame called as Fruit Basket. I can give it any name. I can call it maybe apples and oranges, and I'll print down apples and oranges over here. Right, so this is just the name of the dictionary that I've given. So again, I believe I've covered enough questions for now. So I'll head back to our session. So we've still got one more library to complete. Here. And again, all of the folks who have just joined in, please do like our video. That would help us a lot. So I see that there are 125 likes. Again, if we can hit maybe 150 likes in the next 5 minutes, that would be amazing. So let's aim for 150 likes in the next 5 to 10 minutes. That would be great. And also, if you haven't yet subscribed to our channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon, And what that would do is, let's say if you want to learn more on data science or Python, you will immediately get a notification of whenever we are uploading new videos. So please do hit the subscribe button, and also please do hit the bell icon. Now, what we'll do is we'll actually work with another dataset which I already have. So I have this CSV file called as iris.csv, and I'll go ahead and load up that CSV file. So here I'll write down pd.read_csv, and inside this I'll give in the name of the file, which is iris.csv, and this I'll go ahead and store in an object called as iris. Now let me print out the head of this. What is the head method? So head method basically gives you the first 5 records of a data frame. So what I've basically done over here is I have a CSV file. CSV file is basically your Excel file in simple terms. So I have loaded this CSV file, and to load a CSV file, I have a method called as read_CSV in the Pandas library. So pd.read_CSV, I'm loading this and I'm storing it in a new object called as iris, and I have the head method. So with the help of the head method, I will get the top 5 records. So these are the columns which are present. So this iris data frame, it gives me data about the features of a flower. So you have sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and petal width. So these are just the features of this iris flower. And this iris flower has 3 species. So you have species named as Setosa, versicolor, and virginica. Now, also, since I've told you that by default it gives you only 5 records. Now let's say instead of 5 records, if I want to have a look at the top 10 records. So I'll just write down 10 over here, I'll hit on run. So now you see that instead of looking at the top 5 records, now I'm able to have a glance at the top 10 records in this data frame. Now similarly, let's say what I'll do is we'll do something interesting now. So we will actually perform some data wrangling. Now from this data frame, I would want all of those records where the sepal length is, let's say, greater than 6. Right? So this is the problem statement. From this entire data frame, I would want all the records where the value of sepal length is greater than 6. So first I need to write in the name of the data frame, which is iris. Inside this I will give in the column name, which is sepal length. So I will write down sepal.length over here. So iris sepal length, and after this I would just need to give in the condition. So iris sepal length greater than 6, I will hit on run. So here you see that I have a bunch of true and false values. What does this mean? So wherever this condition is false, I'll get a false value. So here, as you see, and now I'm checking if the sepal length value is greater than 6. Is 5.1 greater than 6? No. That is why I have false. So here, as you see, when the index number is, it starts at 145. So these index values starting from 145 to 148. So here you have values where this value of the sepal length is greater than 6. Now I only have true and false values over here, but what I want is I would actually want the records. So I'll give in the entire data frame over here. I'll cut this condition and I will paste this condition over here. Now let me hit on run. Now if you see the result, you will see that I have only those records where the value of sepal length is greater than 6. So as you see, all of these values over here, they are greater than 6, and that is amazing. So this is a brief intro to this library called as Pandas. And after this, we have one final library left, which is Matplotlib. So we will, we will work with the final library. So let me head to Matplotlib over here. And Matplotlib, as I've told you, is a visualization library, and with the help of this, you can create a lot of bar plots, scatter plots, pie chart, and a lot of other geometries. So that is the basic context of this library. Now we will start off with our first geometry, which is a line plot. So First, we'd have to create the data. So to create the data, we are importing NumPy. And to work with matplot, there is a submodule in matplotlib called as pyplot. So we'll write down from matplotlib import pyplot as plt. So matplotlib is the name of the main library, and pyplot is the submodule which is present in matplotlib. And with the help of pyplot, we'll be creating all of our geometries. And as you see, I have given an alias of plt for this submodule of pyplot. Now, once I've imported these two libraries, I'd have to create my data. So here I have my first variable x, and in this I'm creating the data with the help of np.arange. I've given 1,11, and as you see, since 11 is exclusive, I have the values starting from 1 going on till 10. Similarly, I create y. What is y? Y is just 2 times of x. So in x we have 1 to 10, in y we have 2 to 20. And what I'll do is I'll map the values of x onto the x-axis, and I'll map the values of y onto the y-axis, which is very intuitive. Then I have plt.plot. Inside this I will pass in x and y. Then I'll have plt.show. So to create a line plot, all you have to do is use plt.plot. That's it. So this is the method. Use plt.plot. Inside this, pass in x and y. Then use plt.show, and this is how you'll be able to create this line plot. So very simple stuff. I'll write down a comment over here, visualization using matplotlib. I'll hit on run. Now this is done, I'd have to import the library. So I'll write down from matplotlib import pyplot as plt. I'll again hit on run. Again, we'll wait for a couple of minutes. So this is loaded. I have to create a line plot, so I'd have to also create data for that. So I have my x variable, and inside this I will have np.arange, and inside this I will pass in 1,11. So I have my x variable ready. Similarly, I'll also have my y variable ready. So in y, let me make it 3 into x. And let me write down y over here, and you see that in x we have the values starting from 1 going on till 10. Similarly, in y we have the values starting from 3 going on till 30. Now, to make the line plot, I just have to use plt.plot, and inside this I will have to pass in x, y. I'll hit on run. Now, you see this metadata over here. I do not want that metadata, so I'll just write down plt.show. I'll hit on run, and we have created our first line plot. So this is very simple. Now, let's say if I want to change the color of this line plot. Here, what I'll do is I'll just add this parameter called as color, and I'll write down R, which would stand for red. So initially the color of this line was blue. I have changed this to a red. Then we have another parameter called as line width. So I'll write down line width, and with the help of this I'll be able to change the thickness of this. So as you see, I've set the line width to be equal to 5, and the thickness of the line has increased. I can also give the label for x-axis, y-axis, and I can also assign a title to this. So what I'll do is I'll start off by giving the x-axis label. So I'll have plt.xLabel, and I'll write down values on x-axis, and I'll also give an a y-axis label. So here I'll write down values on y-axis. Then I just need to add a title to this. So plt.title, and I'll set the title as first line plot. Now let's hit on run. And you see I have added a label on the x-axis, on the y-axis, and I've also given a title to this plot. So very simple. So with the help of matplotlib, as you see, you can create these really beautiful and really simple plots. So we have created our line plot. We have also added the labels and the title. We have also worked with this. There's also another attribute called as line style. So here, if you see, we have a solid line. Now, instead of a solid line, if I want a dotted line, I can just use this line style method and I'll give it a colon over here. And you see, instead of a solid line, I have a dotted line over here. Let me just add that change over here. What I'll do is I will add this attribute called as line style. And inside this, I'll just add in a colon and let me hit on run. And you see, we have changed the original plot. So this again is how we create a line plot over here. So we've got 10 minutes left. What we'll do is we'll quickly cover maybe another geometry. So we have created a line plot. Let's see what else can we work with. Maybe we'll also work with a bar plot as well. So now let's understand where is a bar plot used. So a bar plot is normally used whenever you have to understand categorical data. What is categorical data? So categorical is where you have categories. So here, as you see, our categories are names of the students. So Bob is one category, Matt is another category, Sam is another category. And what we are trying to understand is which of the students has scored how many marks. Or this is basically mark-wise comparison of these students. And this image clearly tells us that Bob has scored the highest marks and Sam has scored the lowest marks. So this is where visualization makes interpretation very easy. So as soon as I look at this bar plot, I know that Bob seems to be academically really good and Sam does not seem to be academically good. Right? So this is the inference which I'll make after looking at this particular plot. Now let's see how can we actually create this plot over here. First, I'd have to create a dictionary. So student. And here I have key value pairs, Bob 87, Matt 56, and Sam 27. Now after creating this dictionary, I'd have to extract the individual keys and individual values. To extract the keys, I'll just write down student.keys. I'll convert the list of keys into a list, and I'll store that in a new object called as names. Now, similarly, I'll extract the individual values using student.values. I'll convert them into a list and I'll store them in this new object called as values. So I have my names ready, I have my values ready, then I just have to go ahead and print out the bar plot. So I will have plt.bar and inside this I'll give in names and values and I'll just have plt.show. And as you see, I have my bar plot ready. So here, thing to notice, to create a bar plot, you'd have to use plt.bar. So that's it. So I'll add another comment over here, bar plot. And what I will do is I'll write down, let me create my data first. So instead of, let's say, student marks, let me again go ahead with the fruit basket thing. So I'll create a new dictionary called as fruits and I'll have apple. I'll set the cost of apple to be 45 this time. Then I have mango. I'll set the cost of mango to be only 10 rupees this time. So let's say that's a huge discount and we're getting a mango for only 10 bucks. Then we've got, let's say, a jackfruit. Is jackfruit really a fruit or is it a vegetable? I'm not sure. Let's call it a fruit. So jackfruit, let's give it 1,000 bucks. So we have created this dictionary. Now let me extract the keys from this. So I'll write down fruits.keys and I will go ahead and store this in a new object called as fruit names. And I'd actually have to convert this into a list first. I'll paste it inside this. Now let me print out fruit names for you guys. I'll hit on run again. So I have extracted the names. As you see, apple, mango, and jackfruit. I have them stored in fruit names. Then similarly, I'll extract the cost. So I will have a variable called as fruit cost. Inside list, I would have to extract fruits.values. I'll hit on run again. And now what do I want? I would just have to print it out for you guys. So I'll have fruit cost, and as you see, 45, 10, and 1000. Now to create the bar plot, I will have plt.bar. First I'll have fruit names, then I will have fruit cost, and let me hit on run. So we have created our bar plot, and what I'll do is I'll again remove this metadata. So plt.show, and as you see, so we see that there's a huge difference in the cost between when you compare jackfruit with apple and mango. So yeah, let's actually see how to add colors to this. So what I'll do is, we've got 3 bars over here. Now what I'll do is I'd have to assign the colors. So I will use this parameter called as color. Since I've got 3 bars, I will use a list, and I'll set the first color apple. I'll give it a red color. Then we've got mango. I'll give it yellow. Jackfruit, what's the color of jackfruit? I have no idea. I don't know, I'll just maybe give in green over here. So as you see, I have assigned red color to an apple, yellow color to a mango, and green color to this jackfruit over here. So basic stuff. And if I have to add the labels, that is also something which I can do. So I'll have plt.xlabel, and on the x-axis I will write down fruit names. I'll also have a y label over here. So plt.ylabel, and I will write down fruit cost, and I'll set a title as well. So plt.title, and I will give the title as fruit basket. And okay, there is an error. Let me see what that is. I've given an extra L over here. Let me hit on run again. So as you see, I've given the X label, Y label, and the title as well. So folks, I believe this brings us to the end of this session. We've covered 3 libraries. So before I actually officially sign off, let me go to the chat and take up some of your questions, and then we can call it a day. So folks, just let me know if today's session was insightful. Did you learn something new? And also, I thank you all for giving your time on a weekend. I understand that maybe you'd want to spend time with your family or with your friends, or maybe just sleep. So it's a weekend, and it's actually good to see that there are 128 people who are watching my session on a Saturday. So that's very encouraging. And if you have found my session insightful, please go ahead, hit the like button. That would, our team will really appreciate that a lot. And also to the folks who haven't yet subscribed our channel, again, just a quick reminder, please do subscribe to our channel. So the aim of Great Learning is to provide high quality education to everyone across the world. So let's say if you subscribe, the YouTube algorithm will work in such a way that it'll be recommended to more people. So it's called a snowball effect. So let's say if you subscribe and if you like it, you will be notified more about it. Similarly, you will you'll talk about Great Learning with your friends, with your peers, and so on. So please do hit the subscribe button, and please do hit the bell icon as well, and that would help us a lot. Kashyap Pandu is asking how to pursue a PhD in data science. Steps to complete PhD in data science. That's a really good question. So, Kashyap, I'll take this as a final question for today. So I see that there are a lot of questions in the chat. I'm afraid since there's a time constraint, I cannot take all of your questions. So I'll just finish off this session with Kashyap Pandu's question. So how to pursue a PhD? Well, here you have 2 routes. Either so you have 2 options. Now, what most of the Indians do is they first pursue their masters and then go for a PhD, or you can directly go for a PhD as well. So here there are certain requirements. Now, most of the Indians who first do a master's and then do a PhD, their idea is to, let's say, if you should want to do your master's, you'd have to give your exams such as GRE and TOEFL. You give these exams, you apply for universities in the United States, you apply for a master's in any of the universities over there. Now, the idea of a master's degree is to get a job. But let's say in the United States, maybe you work for 5 to 6 years, then you realize that you would need to develop more of your skills. Then you would want to again go for a PhD. Then what you can do is maybe, or what most of the Indians do is maybe, let's say after completing their masters, they work and then they do a part-time PhD as well so that they can improve their skills. So this is by convention the route most of the Indians take up. Or there are also folks who directly go for a PhD route as well. So again, they give their GRE, they give their TOEFL, they have their subject exams as well. So they give their GRE subject exams and they apply to the universities over there in the United States, or let's say if it's not United States, maybe somewhere else across the world, they apply for PhDs over there and they do it. And it's also not necessary that you do a PhD from there. So you can also target the premier institutions in India as well. You can target the IITs, the NITs, and IISc Bangalore as well. So now, let's say when you target these universities again, so in India, you'd have to go the route of GATE. So again, GATE, you have MTech. So after that, again, you'd want to do a PhD as well. So you have your route over there. So when you ask for steps, it's pretty simple. Either go for your master's and then do your PhD, or you can directly go for a PhD as well. But you'd have to be sure of what you're actually doing. So let's say if you actually want to do a PhD, then you are more inclined in the research side of things. So here you'd have to do a proper analysis of what you'd want. So if you are more interested to work in the corporate side, then I'd recommend go for masters and apply for companies over there and maybe work for 5 to 6 years. And if you still think you'd want to upgrade yourself, then go for a PhD. But let's say if you're inclined towards more of research from right now, from your undergraduate days itself, then you can directly take the PhD route, directly apply for PhD. It may be in India or anywhere across the world, and then you can get your PhD in the next maybe 5 years, I guess. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Kashyap. So folks, this would be it from my side. Again, I appreciate all of you folks for attending the session. Thank you. Have a great weekend, and I'll sign off for today.